Hello everybody, welcome. I am the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be looking at an in-depth guide for Sona. So, thank you very much to NGE Pulse, Mr. Magpie, and De Presserani for sponsoring this guide. I know a bunch of people have been wanting to see a Sona guide for a very long time, and I just started picking her up recently and playing her a bit more. I have, of course, played her in the past. You know, Sona's been around since Season 1, and I've been supporting since Season 1, so I have played her. But it's not until just recently that I started playing her a lot with some insane results, if I do say so myself. So if we look, I just picked up a couple of losses tonight. But before that, if this will quit like glitching out, it was just like a ton of wins as Sona. It just blew everywhere as Sona. And these are like high platinum games. So this is against like pretty decent opponents. You know, top 5% of the player base, and Sona's just mowing them down. I was 11-3, and before these last two games, I was 11-1. He's extremely powerful right now, and I'm going to tell you why. And I think this has just become kind of a recent thing in the last couple of patches due to several meta changes that I'm going to go into. But yeah, she's extremely strong right now. And, you know, in the past, I've had nowhere near this kind of success with her. Like, I've done okay, you know, whenever I play Sona, typically. Now, this season it was rough. Earlier on, it was, you know, I'd only won probably like 25% of games, but that was a low sample size of like 15 games or so. It was really hard earlier in the lethality meta because she was just too squishy for that meta. But, I mean, last season I had 60% with her, and now I think I'm over 50%. So I was in the 20s, I think, and now I'm at 52 because I've gone on such a huge run lately. So, I think she's quite strong. So I think I would even go as far as to say she's overpowered in 7.11, and I think she's going to be even more so in 7.12, which I'll talk about here in a second. So I legit think that she might be a permaban in 7.12 with the way that they're doing the new Athene's Unholy Grail. But let's get into it. Let's stick with 7.11 for a little bit, and then we'll talk about 7.12. We'll talk about why I think that she is overpowered right now. And the main reason is Ardent Sensor and her interaction with Ardent Sensor and Wind Speaker and her W, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. But why pick Sona overall? I think she's super overpowered in 7.11. So what makes her overpowered? Well, the R is a great team fighting tool. You know, multi-target stun for 1.5 seconds. Always going to be very powerful in team fights. She has amazing early game pressure. She has some of the most early game aggression that you can get on a support, so that's extremely powerful. However, she can also be defensive, so if you have a really tough lane, you know, if you have a Vayne or a Twitch on your team in the early game and you're against something like Brand, Jen, or something like that, you can still survive that lane because you have a heal built in. And if you just build a bunch of Fairy Charms early, then you can survive tough lanes too. So she can be aggressive, you know, with lanes like Draven or Zaya or maybe even Lucian early on. She can be aggressive, or Jen, or she can dial it back and be a bit more defensive. So she's very, very flexible. I think your default mode should be aggressive, but if you just can't do it or your AD carry is just not cooperating, then you can always go back to defensive, and that's fine because she's also going to outscale every other support in the game with her team fighting capability, which we'll talk about here in a second. But, you know, you're not on the clock with her. You can be aggressive and you can get some kills early if you want to, but you can also chill if it's not a very good matchup for you, or your AD carry is underperforming, or you're just having a bad game. You can also switch into defensive mode and chill and be just fine later on. So this is what differentiates her from a lot of the other early game aggressive supports. So someone like Zyra is extremely aggressive early on, but she falls off later unless you get really far ahead, because traditional AP items like Leandri's and Void Staff are very expensive compared to utility support items like Redemption, Locket, and such. His Redemption's 2100, I think Locket's 2300 or 2200 gold. Leandri's 3000, and I think Void Staff is 27 or 2800. So the items are just much cheaper on utility supports, which means they're gonna power spike through the game a lot faster than you. And Wind Speakers is better than anything, you know, later in the game, anything that AP supports are gonna bring to the table. So that's a problem with someone like Zyra or Brand, who's good early, and even Nami, who's good early on. She doesn't use AP items, but her cooldowns are just so high, and she only has one healing ability, and her other abilities just don't scale quite as well as Sona's do. So, anyways, so she's a beautiful mix of early game pressure and aggression and really great late game scaling. Kind of like right there with Karma, but a little bit less cooldown dependent, like large cooldown dependent. Like Karma's so dependent on her mantra E, and if your team doesn't utilize that, if they don't go in and fight, or if you're not grouped up as 5, then it has such a long cooldown that she really can't do that much unless she has her mantra E. Whereas Sona can just keep spamming her auras over and over and over again and be extremely powerful in fights, even if she doesn't have her ult. I mean, her ult is really good, and you definitely want it for team fights, but even if you don't have it, you can still make a huge difference. So I think all of that together makes her the best support right now. I mean, I would honestly pick or ban her every single game. Like, I'm not exaggerating. I haven't beaten Sona either, so this is kind of glitching out. So we'll see if it works. You can see it kind of like blink it up here. I don't know what's going on with op.gg. So I'm personally 11-3 right now, and I know that I only beat Sona out of my last 20 or 24. I counted up the other day. I only beat her like 1 out of 4 times. So, you know, she's like 15-4 in my games because I don't really know how to beat her successfully, and I don't get beaten as when I play her, at least not a lot lately. I mean, the traditional counter to Sona would be something like a Blitzcrank, maybe a Thresh or a Leona, but those engaged tanks just aren't very good right now because they don't scale with plus healing. And so if they pick that and they don't kill you a lot early, you're going to massacre them late game. So you're putting them on the clock. You're forcing them, in order to try to counter you, you're forcing them to pick an early game aggression champion that's not going to scale that well. And each one of those has some problems too. So she just shatters all of the other enchanter supports, which is the best class of support right now. Like, she beats up Lulu, Karma, Janna, Soraka, Nami, everyone. She beats them all. Because no one's as well-rounded as she is. Like, Janna scales pretty well late into the game. I just don't think she can keep up with Sona's ability to put Ardent Sensor on everybody. You know, every 3 seconds is what it comes down to. I think Janna is still super powerful. She's probably my number 2 support right now. But Sona has that early game aggression too, which makes her compatible with a lot more supports and team comps. So anyways, let's get into it. So what is it? What is it about Sona that makes her so ridiculous? Let's crunch some numbers here as we usually do in these guides. And this is probably going to be a long guide. It'll probably be at least an hour. Just if you don't have time for the whole thing, just look in the description. You can find timestamps where I go over the different sections. You can jump around to find your favorite parts. And you'll have access to this Google Doc in the description as well, so you can just kind of get the TLDR if you just want to skim it and you don't have time to watch the whole thing. I totally understand. But I try to put out as much information as I possibly can, and I think that's something that differentiates me from a lot of other YouTubers. I don't give you the hype. I don't give you the all caps. I break it down. I give you the numbers. I give you my best possible reasoning to help you become a better player and to learn how to play Sona well in this case. So let's go ahead and have a look at Sona here. I think I've already still got her tab open. Yes. Okay. Pull that Sona tab in here. All right. So what's up with Sona? Okay. So she's very squishy. She does have 550 range, and this is pretty important to note because at least a couple of other utility supports don't have that much range. I know that Janna, I believe, has 450. Janna can't really sneak in very many auto attacks, 475, and I think Karma's is probably less than 550, 525. Okay, so that makes it really hard to trade autos with most AD carries because they're just going to hit you back more because they outrange you. But Sona has 550, so it does let her get in more auto attacks than a lot of other utility supports. I think Nami still has 550, and Lulu has 550, but in terms of Karma and Janna, she does outrange them a little bit, which is important to note. She has very, very low starting health, so she only has 482. I think she's the squishiest champion in the game. So you have to be very, very careful with your positioning. Because if you get caught, you're going to have a hard time. Now, she has huge mana regeneration, which is important because she's a huge mana hog early on, especially with her heal. So low armor, as you would expect, low move speed, so she's very squishy. Her base attack damage is actually kind of high for a utility support. But anyways, so very squishy. You have to be very careful with your positioning or you're going to get punished really hard. So power chord. Basically, every time you cast an ability, you get 1 stack of this. And then once you get to 3 stacks, then you get a special bonus on your next auto attack according to... Oh, I didn't realize that it reset the auto attack timer. Huh. I'll have to keep track of that. You can auto power chord auto. Okay, good to know. So on her Q, it's going to do 40% bonus damage, and this is, I believe, this also like takes into account her auto attack damage, because it says Sona's next basic attack deals this bonus damage, but that is the power chord with an additional effect. Okay, never mind. It spells it out here. Okay, so it does not include the auto attack damage. So that number is, yeah. Okay, so it's just the bonus that you get and not the auto attack. The way that it's worded, the power chord is included the auto attack, but that's not true. So it spells it out here. But it's pretty good extra damage, 28% AP and a little bit based on your level. So it's a decent little chunk of damage you can do. This is the one you're going to want to use most of the time. It reduces the targets. So whoever you hit with your next auto attack, if green is the last thing that you cast, is 25% plus 4% per AP. So you're going to have at least 100 AP on Sona most of the time with the itemization I'll talk about. So it's going to be pretty close to 30% for 3 seconds. That's like you get an exhaust, basically. A free exhaust on your auto. And you can stack that with normal exhaust too, to where they're just not going to do any damage. And it's every 3 seconds. And you can run through your rotation just about every 3 seconds. You can just like permanently have someone crippled, pretty much, with her power chord, because she gets a lot of extra cooldown reduction on her ult, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But so this is what you'll want to use most of the time. This is good for poking and lane. This is what you want to use in team fights, and this is good for it speeds up your team by a decent little chunk. I mean, you know, it's going to be like 10%, 16% when you have 100 AP. So a good little boost for 3 seconds. Okay, and everyone else gets the bonus movement speed for 3 seconds, but Sona gets it for 7 if she doesn't take damage. So this helps her kind of zip around the map. It gives her some protection from getting caught, but it's not as nice as Janna's W passive. It's okay, you'll get 1 point. This is good for catching people out in ganks, so 40% slow for 2 seconds, it doesn't decay. It's pretty nice. So it's okay. She doesn't have a lot of CC, but this is one form of it. So that's all power chord is. Now it's important to note that it says whenever you cast 3, your next attack does it. You can change what it is. So if you get your third attack, if you get your third ability is Q, but you really want the W, you can press W and then it'll change it to a green power chord shot. So you're not locked in at your third one, although you should try to power chord roughly every 3, because every spell cast beyond the third and until you auto attack is just kind of wasting stacks when you could be stacking more power chords. So it's important to kind of think about that. But in a team fight, if you accidentally use, you know, your Q and you're like, oh crap, I really needed a green, then you can wait, do your W, and then get a green shot and auto attack them with the green. Green is also great for hitting things like Baron or Dragon to reduce their damage by a little bit. So it's just helpful to note. Okay, so passive, pretty cool. Just got it laid out here. Let's talk about like what really makes Sona like insanely powerful. Okay, so let's look at her Q. Now, some of these numbers look very innocuous because it only shows you the single target, but a lot of them are multi-target abilities. That's what Sona is all about. It's just team fight, massive like buffs. That's what she's been about since day 1, season 1. And she's gone through all kinds of different iterations, but that's one thing that has remained steady with her, is she's all about team fights and her auras. All right, so this is really powerful. So if you level this up, this is something that you're going to want to level up pretty quickly. Her W and her Q are both very powerful. But once you add this to level 5, it does 160 damage per target for 65 mana. So that's 320 damage on a 5-second cooldown in a team fight. That only costs 65 mana, and it has a 1.0 ratio on it because it's going to hit 2 targets. So that's just crazy. Like that's a lot. And then on top of that, any ally that you tag is going to get a bonus of 60 on hit damage and 20% of your AP. So even if you just get off 1 auto attack, if you hit 2 people with your Q and then you get off 1 empowered auto attack, that's a 1.2 AP scaling, which is huge. So if you are level 5, if you have 100 AP, So that's just Ardent Censer plus Eye of the Watchers, which you should be rushing Ardent Censer. We'll talk about here in a little bit. That's 320 damage, plus the 1.0 ratio is 100, plus 80 on the auto attack. You're doing 500 damage if you just, that's just you hitting 2 people in a team fight with a Q and just auto attacking 1 person. That's not power chord, just a straight up normal empowered auto attack is 80. That's 500 damage. It's on a 5-second cooldown. Really even less than that, because by the time you get that, it's going to be level 11, so it's going to be reduced by 25%. It's going to be like a 4-second cooldown. Or maybe even like a 3.5-second cooldown. It's very cool. Very, very cool. So you can just spam this ability. 65 mana does all that. It's about a 3.3 second cooldown if you have 20% CDR off of that stuff. That's not exact, because I forgot, which I'll talk about here in a second. When I talk about the ultimate, it stacks multiplicatively, not additively. But it's 3 and some change second cooldown for only 65 mana. And every ally that you touch with that is 80 extra. So if you hit 4 other people with that, that's 900 damage in a team fight every time you Q. Now, you're probably not going to touch everybody, but, you know, even if you touch, like, 2 other people in a team fight, that's going to be, you know, 660 damage. So, that's, I mean, like, that's more than most mid laners. Like, how much does the Syndra Q do? Like, who's a heavy-hitting mid laner? Like, someone like Syndra, probably. Like a Syndra Q, you know, I guess if you hit 2 people, Syndra's Q is going to be a little bit more, right? So it's probably going to be single target, but you could, in theory, hit 2 people. It's a lot easier to hit 2 people with Sona's Q because it's not a skill shot. It just, they just seek out and hit 2 people. But I mean, it's close. Like, it's akin to something like a Syndra Q. So not quite as much, but it's big, considering that it has 850 range and it just seeks out. You don't even have to, like, aim for people. They can be, like, on completely, like, opposite sides of you and it would still hit them. It's pretty nice. It's a lot of damage. For a support, let's say it's a lot of damage. Especially on that short of a cooldown. Okay, so really, really nice damage. Now, this is the thing that's crazy, is the W. Okay, so this is her heal. And it's very unassuming. Because when I looked at this, just like everybody else, I'm thinking that is dinky. Like, that is not really that good, right? So it starts at 80 mana. Like, jeez, that is very, very expensive early on to do this heal. And it only heals for 115? What? And you get, like, a little dinky shield that lasts for a little bit of time? Like, you know, I used to just think, whatever. Like, that's not really that good. Oh, but it is. So once you start doing the math on it, it gets crazy. So the minimum is a 0.8 scaling. Because if you look at this, this hits 2 targets, this heal. This hits you and 1 other person. Okay, so that's a 0.5. This hitting 2 people. And then you and that 1 other person are also going to get the shield. As long as the other person's close to you. I'm assuming they're close enough to get the shield. So that's going to be 0.5. Even if they're not close to you, even if it just shields you, that's still a 0.8. If it shields you and the other person, it's 0.6 plus 0.5 is 1.1. So it's a 1.1 AP ratio if it just hits you and your ally right next to you. Basically, just 2 people. 1.1 ratio. It also heals for 230 plus 260. 490. 490 heal. Are you kidding? Heal plus shield combined with a 1.1 ratio on it for just 2 people. It's like, that's so much healing and shielding. That's 490. I mean, a Janna shield is 240. That's like literally 2 Janna shields on people. It's just split up over shield and heal. And a Janna shield is only a 0.7. That's crazy. Now, Janna's shield does offer other stuff, right? Like, Janna's shield also gives the AD and everything. So Janna's shield is very, very good. But that's still, just for comparison, that's a lot of healing compared to a to how much you get for a Janna shield. And a Janna shield is like over 100 mana. It's 110 mana. So this is actually giving you a really good bargain if you touch at least 2 people with it. Now, this is the baseline. So yeah, it's 490 baseline if it's Sona plus 1 ally. right? But now let's take a more realistic scenario. Let's say that you just get your Ardent Sensor and your Eye of the Watcher, right? So you have your Wind Speakers, you have your Ardent Sensor, that's plus 20% healing. You have your Eye of the Watchers plus Ardent Sensor, that's 115 AP. And you have, or plus 20 AP from your runes, just a standard rune page, AP Blues, 2 AP Quints, 20 AP. Alright, so that's 115 AP and plus 20% healing. That's going to give you 342 plus 395 shield, 737 healing for you combined with you and your ally. So, and you get 165 extra shielding, because remember the heal only hits 2 people, but the shield can hit everyone. So 165 extra shield for your 3 other allies if they're close is 737 extra shielding and healing. So that's 1,232 max healing and shielding off of that ability, a W. Oh, and by the way, it's on like a 3.5 second cooldown. What? Like, you're not misreading it. You're not misreading that. That's how that math works out. That's only 20% healing and shielding, and that's only 115 AP. You know, if you stack a Redemption on there for even more healing and shielding, or if you're going for like a Tear of the Goddess build, and you get like a Seraph's Embrace for like 140 extra AP, you can just kind of imagine where it goes from there. But yeah, that's disgusting. That is so much healing and shielding. Now, if you compare that with a Mantrid, Karma Mantrid E at level 11, right? So you do all that, then the Mantrid E is going to do about 1900 healing. So it's going to be about 50% more healing, but it's also on a 15-second cooldown at least, and that's if you're just constantly auto-attacking, hitting people with Qs, auto-attacking, hitting people with Qs. You know, you might get it down to 15 seconds cooldown. You know, you might be able to get it down to 10 seconds. You're not going to get it anywhere near 3.3. Like, let's put it this way. You're not going to get it near 6.6, which is what 2 of these would be. So 2 of these, you know, are going to be 2,400. So it's already going to out-heal it in the same length of time. If you just get 2 of these, unless you can get this below 7 seconds, this is going to out-heal it later in the game. And this is a heal, too. This isn't, well, it's partially heal and partially shield, but some of it is a heal, which sticks for the entire duration. Now, this does other things. This speeds people up, and the shield lasts a little bit longer, and all of that kind of stuff. But just as much as I can, try to apples it. Now, a Janna Ultimate with that same setup that I just talked about is going to heal for, you know, 3,700. So that's going to be the most, by far, you know, single biggest healing spike in the game. I mean, it's even bigger than Soraka's because it has much higher scaling. But you know, that also is a 108-second cooldown, and you know, you have to have people positioned in your ult that stand in it the entire time to charge. This is just a one-time boost, and the Sona one is a one-time sort of boost as well. Now keep in mind, you get to walk around with this thing too. So it sounds like, well, you know, it seems like, well, if they're not in it right when you cast it, it's no good. Now, it doesn't say how long the effect stays, but this aura stays around you for a little bit. You know, it feels like it's at least like 3 seconds. Okay, yeah, lasts for 3 seconds. Okay. Alright, so, you know, you have some time to reposition, so even if you don't have all 5 people in your W aura, you can walk up to them and still give them the shield portion. So you can move around a little bit. You know, if you hit 3 people to start and then you run over and touch the other 2 people, that still counts as getting the shield. So, you know, it doesn't have as big of an area of effect as something like a Karma Shield, but you can move around and reposition to give people more of that area of effect. So it's a pretty good probability you're going to hit at least 3 people with this in a team fight, if not more. So yeah, it's not as big of a huge like game-breaking heal as like a Janna channeled ult, but it's really good, especially for a 3.3 second cooldown. I mean, you'd only have to cast this 3 times, just about, to equal the Janna heal. So you know, if you just spam this in a fight, you know, within 10 to 15 seconds, you can probably get about the same amount of healing as a Janna ult. Okay, so this is the real big ticket, and this is why this is one of the things that has made Sona overpowered, is if we look at, do I have an Ardent Sensor? I do. This item right here. Let me close the door. That's probably pretty loud. My cat comes in here and opens the door. And then the baby's just going off like a bomb in the other room. I don't know what they're doing. What they're doing to her, but sounds like they've got her in a torture chamber or something. But anyways, this is the ticket. This is the big deal right here with Ardent Sensor. It's got your mana regen, it's got your ability power, cooldown reduction, base healing, plus 10% healing, plus 8 movement speed. This is just a crazy, crazy bargain. I talked about this in my patch notes video, which I have here. I didn't do the math on the Sona. I just showed you some math with how it interacts with Sona in terms of Watchers plus Ardent Sensor. But just as a quick comparison on Janna, this item, it makes Janna's shield go from 288 shield to 339 shields. That's like 17% more shield if you get Ardent Sensor versus Redemption. Like, this is Redemption shield. This is the Ardent Sensor shield. So, you know, I used to rush Redemption on basically everybody, but I've come to the realization that Ardent Sensor is just much better because it's much more reliable. You still want to get Redemption, but you want Ardent Sensor first. Primarily because your first item, you might still be in lane when that's happening, or it's at least probably going to be in like a skirmish mode. You might team fight. You can still team fight with Ardent Sensor. But it's just a lot more reliable, and it's a lot better for skirmishes. Like, Redemption is better in the super rosy scenario where you hit like 5 people with it, and the fight's over very quickly. But in longer fights, especially if you can keep spamming abilities, if you can keep this passive up, it's insane. And the thing about Sona's aura, her W aura, is it gives everybody who touches it this buff for 6 seconds. And remember, it's only on a 3.3 second cooldown. So you can have this up for your entire team. Because there's no cooldown on that W hardly. You can just sit there and spam it. That means everybody on your team is going to be getting, you know, 20 to 35%, you know, at least 25% most of the time by the time you complete this item, you know, around level 9, you know, 25% extra attack speed and plus 25 on hit damage, or more. I mean, it's like 27, but that's just crazy. Like, it gives them 25 on hit damage and heals them for the 25 damage. So just think about that for a second. Like, that's so much extra gold for your team. Like, how much is I think a dagger's 300 and gives 15%. So, you know, this is like 450 gold per person on your team. You know, if you think of 5 people, that's like 450 times 5 is 2,225. Sorry, it's getting kind of late. Yeah, 2250. And then I don't even know how you would calculate the on hit plus lifesteal, but it's just a lot. It's an insane buff on your entire team. It's like you just put everybody on steroids, in addition to how insane this is normally. Because, you know, you can only use this every now and then. You can only use this every now and then. This is permanently going to be up. Basically, you have Ardent Sensor on everybody. And that also triggers Wind Speakers the entire time. So a lot of people forget that Wind Speaker actually gives out armor and magic resist. So, you know, if you're level 10 or so when this happens, that's 14 armor and 7 magic resist. I mean, 14 armor, you know, it's 280. Let's see. So that's like almost 4,000 gold worth of stats. If the attack speed was 2250, I don't even know, like, that's not even counting the on-hit damage or the on-hit healing. That's just simply the attack speed plus the wind speaker, armor, and magic resist that you get. You know, I assume the other stats, you know, if the on-hit plus the life steal is similar in valuation, you're looking at about 6,000 gold off of wind speakers on everybody on your team, like, permanently. So it's like, you know, if the total gold for each team is 20,000, you know, 20,000 a piece, then all of a sudden you jump to 26,000 gold. You know, that's like killing, you know, 300 gold is a kill, so that's like 20 kills. Now, if you include assists, so it's like 6,500 value divided by kill plus assist, 450. You know, it's like 14 and a half kills or something worth of stats. So just imagine if the score went from like 10 to 10 to 24 to 10. Just because you're playing Sona that can keep up Ardent Sensor and wind speakers on everybody for like an entire fight. That item is just bonkers. It's a busted item, especially on Sona. And that was the big changer, I think, for me, was I started building Ardent Sensor first instead of Redemption. I got Redemption second, and it's made a huge, huge difference. And I got the idea. Someone had posted this up in my messages, and I can't remember who it was, so I apologize. You know, we've got a million subs that send me a million messages every day. But someone sent this to me a few weeks ago. There was a YouTube video of Apto, who is the #1 Korean solo queue player, talking about the best supports right now. And he says the enchanters are the best because of Ardent Sensor, primarily. Now, he's not like super articulate about why. He doesn't crunch a bunch of numbers, but he does offer some really good information, food for thought. And I went back and just sort of reevaluated Sona and her interactions with Ardent Sensor. And, you know, everything's just so good. Like, she wants the plus healing. She wants the AP. The AP scales into her damage. It also scales into her healing. She's able to keep up Wind Speaker and Ardent Sensor, like, for the entirety of a team fight because her cooldowns are so low. All of this stuff just makes her, like, bonkers, like, overpowered right now. And if that wasn't enough, let me go ahead and show you something here. This bad boy right here, Athene's Unholy Grail. And I think I did some math with this in my last tier list video, if you want to see that. At the very beginning, I talk about the new support items for patch 7.12. So look at this. So I do it with the 100 AP example. I did 115 in this video, but I flattened out the numbers to just 100 AP. So once again, if you just have Ardent Sensor plus Eye of the Watchers, you're going to be over this number. I mean, Ardent Sensor plus runes plus, you know, just like one other half of an item will get you that number. But like the new Athene's Unholy Grail, so what it is, it's 30 ability power, 30 magic resist. So it's got that 10% cooldown. So I took off the 10% cooldown, which is great. It didn't need 20. One reason that I never get this item is I just feel really dirty because I would always go over the CDR cap, and I just felt like I was wasting stats, like, because it just doesn't need 20% anymore. What else did they do on this? So it says right here, they increase the base mana regen. They increase the rate at which you store up the heal. So it's 25% of your pre-mitigation damage dealt to champions as blood charges. Okay, and that's basically a heal that you can activate whenever you use a heal. Healing or shielding another ally consumes the charges equal to 100% of the heal or shield value, healing the ally for that amount. Equal to 100%. Oh, I had missed that. Okay. Equal to the heal or shield value. Okay, so you're going to have some extra blood charges. Actually, no, it will still be the number that I thought it would be. It's just not going to be on the same target, because there's no internal cooldown. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. And now, also the passive is, it no longer gives you the Harmony, which was extra health regen for your mana, which thank God, because health regen is just garbage. You just don't need that outside of laning phase. It's just a really bad stat. Like, it's nice to have, but I would rather allocate that gold towards other stats, like, all the time. So now it gives you 5 extra ability power for every 25% base damage. Like, that's the sound of overpowered. Sona going in there. It's like everyone's minds exploding when they watch how overpowered Sona is going to be with this. So if you look at 7.11, I do some math here. So just kind of your standard build. You have Eye of the Watchers, Ardent Censer, and then you get your Athenes, and you finish off with Redemption, just a little 4-item build. By the way, these are all really cheap. Okay, so Athenes is 2,100 gold, Ardent Censer is 2,100 gold, or Ardent Censer is 23, Redemption's 21, and I think Watchers is 22. So, you know, you're basically going to be full build with, let's see, your Boots of Swiftness is 900, 2,100 Athene, 2,300 Ardent, Redemption, 7,400 gold, full build. I mean, there are some champions where 2 items that they need are going to be 7,400. You know, if you look at something like an Infinity Edge, if it's a champion that wants, like, Infinity Edge plus Trinity Force or something like that, that's going to be over 7,400, like, not even including boots. This is full build. Like, you have 1 extra slot left over for control wards, and you can fill it out later if you want with some other random item, but 7,400, you're basically going to be full build. Insane. That's like 2 80 carry items, maybe 3. So it's really cheap, and as far as the mana regen goes, it's going to give you 100 off of Athene's, 50 off of Watcher, 50 off of Ardent, and then 150 off the new Redemption. That's 350% mana regen, which is going to give you 70 extra AP with the passive off of that item. So that's 100 total AP on a 2,100 gold item that has other stuff with it, like mana regen, like magic resist, and like a bonus heal that can proc every 3 seconds. So if you look at Sona's level 5 Q with 100 AP, you know, it's going to be 766 damage, especially with power cord. Now, even if you don't power cord it, like I showed you up here, it's still going to be 500 damage with 100 AP. So that's a lot. That's a lot of damage. Now, yeah, that 80 will count on your own auto attacks. That's 500 damage. So if you look at that, it'd be 500. So even if you don't hit him with the power cord, remember times 0.25. So 0.25 of that gets stored. So that's 125. Okay, so basically every time you press Q, you're going to get an extra heal off your W. So every rotation, every 3 seconds, you're going to get 125 extra heal. So, you know, over here I had looked at, with the power core to be 766 damage, your passive would give you 192 bonus healing on your W. Your W base is only 115 on an ally, and plus healing also applies to this. So, don't, you know, if you have 20% plus healing, then, you know, all of a sudden with this number I just cooked up, if you just, that's just counting, you know, Ardent Censer plus Wind Speakers is +2. Then we can do, well, whatever. It's like 150 or 160 if you include the Redemption healing in there, plus healing. So it's a lot. It's a lot of extra healing. It's basically going to double your W heal, and your W heal was already insane. So it says here that you can't overheal with it, basically, because it can only do max healing or shielding to another ally champion. Healing or shielding another ally champion consumes charges equal to 100% of the heal and the shield, healing the ally for that amount. So basically how this is going to work, it's going to give them the shield too. So that's the thing. So, it, you know, the heal is only going to be 115, but the shield is much higher, as we just talked about. The shield is like 200. So you can do this. So I was a little bit worried that you're going to go over the cap up to 100 to 250. I guess that's based on level. But anyways, it's going to double the heal every time. And so the number just starts getting ridiculous, as I talked about in there. So just imagine that you have another, you know, 160 tacked onto this stuff up here. Where was it here? So instead of the 737 baseline number, just imagine that it's like a 900 baseline number plus 165 per ally. It gets really bonkers, and that's not even including the 100 AP. I mean, if you throw an extra 100 AP on here, that just about doubles this number. I mean, you're very quickly going to get up into the like over 2,000 range if you add in 100 extra AP. So it's really, really insane, like how much extra damage and how much extra healing that new Athene's is going to do. Well, let's do it. Let's run it through here. Let's run this extra 100 AP. So instead of 115, let's do it 215. So this is assuming that you're going to go Eye of the Watchers, Ardent Censer, 20 from runes, and then a fully stacked Athene's Unholy Grail. So if you have redemption after that, so this is going to be like end game with the redemption. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do it without the redemption. So how much would it be without the redemption, just so that we get a nice little 2-item power spike here? Let me see. So let's knock this redemption out of here for 350. So that's going to be 200 divided by 25 times 5 equals 40, and then it has a base of 30. That's going to be 70. So let's throw 70 extra AP into the gauntlet here, because I kind of want to do this number. Okay, so that's going to take it to 205 AP. Let me go ahead and mark this down here, because I am curious to see like what's up with this. So healing with Ardent plus Watcher plus new Athene. Okay, so we have 200 AP plus 20%. Healing. Okay. So 200 AP. Let's throw it through the grinder. Okay, so we're gonna have... Alright, so our heal is going to be 50. That's gonna be 100. So 250. That's gonna be 230 plus 100. So that's gonna be 330. And your shield is going to be, say 0.6. I think that's going to be 120. Yeah, so 120, 260. Oh, I forgot the plus healing. Okay, 120 plus 260, 380. I need to do times the 1.2. We're going to do 330, 396, $456, plus your blood charges, assuming that you're going to hit the, well, you can hit more than the max because it's going to be a heal plus a shield. So let's say that you hit him with a Q, you got 200 AP. That's going to be 320 plus 200 plus 100. Wait. 320, I must have messed it up. Plus 200 plus 100. Okay, so 620 times 0.25. Okay, so that's 155 on your blood charge. Now that's more than your normal heal, but the shield also counts. So your heal is only gonna cap it at 115 extra healing, and the shield that you apply to the person is gonna cap it up to another amount that the shield is. So the entire amount's gonna go through times 1.2 for the plus healing from wind speakers and ardent censer. That's plus an additional 186. It's 86, right? Yeah, 186. Now remember, those blood charges can't apply to you. They only apply to an ally that you heal. Okay, so 186 plus 456 plus 396 equals 1038 heal. With, that's only healing 2 people, so we have a potential for 3 more people to be healed with 200 AP. So that's going to be 200 AP. That's going to be a 0.9. That's going to be 180. So 180. Or no, we'll just do it times 3 or whatever. Okay, so 200 times 0.3 equals 60 plus 190 times 1.2 equals 300. Oh, that's nice and easy. 300 times 3 is 900. Yeah, so you're looking at 2,000. 2,000 potential total heal delivered, basically. 2,000 total heal delivered if you just have Ardent Censer plus the new Athenes plus Watcher. Like, you can't tell me that's not overpowered. That is obscene. Like, that's more than a Karma. Like, that's, we haven't put the same item on Karma, but that's like more than a lot of ultimates. Like, that's on a 3.3 second cooldown. That's a 3 second cooldown. That's like more than like a full, like that's about as much as a full rotation ultimate from a hyper fed 80 carry. You know, like that is so much healing on a 3 second cooldown. Because your W, or your Q rather, is also going to be like basically a 3 second cooldown. You know, so both of these abilities are going to be like a 3 second cooldown. That's just wrong. Like, that's so ridiculous. And there's no skill shot. Like, this is going to hit people in a fight. You can't miss it. Like, you just press Q. If 2 people are within 850, it's hitting them. And your auto attack can't miss. This can't miss. It's going to heal someone that's within 1,000 range. And if you just stand near allies, it's going to heal them. Like, there's no way you can mess that up. Like, it's a 0 skill shot, like, combination that heals for 1,000. Or 2,000 rather, in the best scenario. And even in like just an average scenario, it's still going to heal for 1,000, just if it's just you and a buddy. Like, that item is going to get Sona permabanned. And if it comes out, I mean, I would think they could even nerf this back and do like 3 ability power per 25% base, and it would still be bonkers on Sona. Like, that item's just disgusting. How long are we looking here? Okay, we're getting close. But I've been really hyped about Sona lately because, like I said, I've just been on an insane win rate with her. Like, I seriously feel like Sona right now could be like a booster champion. Like, this is a booster screen. Like, this is something that would usually be filled up with Master Yi or like Pantheon or something like that. But it's Sona who's been filling up that screen. Like, that's how strong she is now. Like, you could legit boost right now with Sona. So yeah, that's, God, just play her now and then play her in 7.12 before everyone figures it out, before the Illuminati gets a hold of it and just starts like spamming like all caps, oh my God, Sona's broken, and they'll be right about this one. But yeah, she's going to be really disgusting with those items. Like, that's not even including Redemption. If you throw Redemption in there for the extra AP and the extra plus healing, I mean, God help us all. Okay, so anyways, we'll move on. So her E good mobility. Not going to say a lot about that. It's just a nice aura, speeds up your whole team. You know, typically it would be 22% actually if you have the 200 AP with that build I just talked about. So that's good. It's got a nice slow in there to help you catch people, but it's not really anything that's that insane. Like, it's okay. It'll be the last thing she'll level up. It's all right. She can't have all overpowered abilities. Just 3 is fine. So her R is very good. This is a classic Sona ability. So basically, she just throws her ult out in a line. Nice range, by the way, 900 range. It doesn't tell you the width, but it's a pretty good little width. And it just stuns everybody for 1.5 seconds, which is huge in a team fight. I mean, if you hit this on 3 people in a team fight, it's basically fight over. You just won. Like, especially if you combine this with other things, like if you have a Wukong on your team, or like a Ziggs, or just anything else, a Malphite, a Moo, just anything you can chain all of this together with. Twitch, anybody? You hold him down for 1.5 seconds and just let Twitch get a hold of him. It's really anybody. So it's great in skirmishes, but it's also great in huge team fights. So she has tremendous synergy with any kind of other area of effect abilities. Misfortune, she's like the classic Wombo combo support is how people use her. But now you don't even need Wombo combo. You can just flat out just use her aura stuff and just overpower carry everybody through fights. With 200 AP, by the way, this bonus magic damage would be a 100 bonus magic damage on everybody that you touch. So I didn't even include that. I'm just talking about the power cord damage right here, which is you auto-attacking. You know, the maximum, you know, you get plus 80 per ally. If you had 200 AP, it'd be plus 160 per ally, I believe, right? No, not quite. But anyways, it gets really wacky with the on-hit as well. You can just spike Baron or just spike enemies in a team fight with that. So anyways, her ult, very good. You want to line it up, hit as many people as you possibly can with it. You want to layer it with other engages. Like, you can use it to engage if you want to, but it's best if they like dive into you kind of, or if someone else starts the fight and then you jump in and follow up with it. It's a lot better. And don't forget that this ultimate, by the way, that's not good enough that it can single-handedly win a team fight, but now it's also got base cooldown reduction. So all of your abilities, your Q, W, and E, all get this base cooldown reduction. Like, it's free CDR, basically. It doesn't stack with CDR, though. It's kind of like, well, there are some other champions that are like this too. But basically, if you have max CDR and max rank R, then it's only going to be 67% cooldown reduction instead of 85. So, for example, and this doesn't apply to her ultimate itself. It's only the basic stuff. So, for example, let's say 6 cooldown here. Let's say you have 25% cooldown here, and let's say you have 20% cooldown from your other abilities. If you have 6... you would get this first, that's 25. So 6 times 0.75. It would only be a 4.5 second cooldown first, and then it checks your CDRs. Then you do that times your 20% times 0.8, because you're getting 20% off, would go to 3.6. So it's a 3.6 second cooldown on Aria of Perseverance. Whereas if they stacked together, if it was times 45%, so this is 3.6. That would be 3.3 if they stacked together in the way that a lot of people probably think they stack. If they stacked additively, it would be 3.3. But because they stack multiplicatively, it checks the ultimate first, and then it gets reduced based off of what the total is after you reduce from the ultimate. Then it's 3.6. So minor differences, but for people that really want to be precise with math, that's how you calculate it. But nevertheless, super powerful. So what are the strengths of Sona? Excellent lane pressure, excellent team fight power, excellent AoE, crushes other enchanters. I mean, she just slaughters Lulu, Karma, Janna, just everybody, because she has such an aggressive early game and transitions into the best end game. Almost unstoppable. Like, once you get Ardent Censer and Redemption, you almost can't lose the game. Like, there have been so many games where, you know, my team was down, like, some of them as much as like 0-10 or something. We were just losing like really bad. Like, I'm talking like 4 or 5 man camps bottom, where I was like starting the game 0-3 sometimes. And we still came back and won some of those games. Now, not all of them, but some of them, even despite like heavy camping and just failure all across the map, we were still able to win games once I got Ardent Censer. And especially after I got Redemption after Ardent Censor, because it's really, really hard to lose a team fight if Sona's there and they don't like instantly blow you up. Just because you do so much. It's just crazy. So her weaknesses, she has limited crowd control. She has her ult, which is like very, very powerful in a team fight. But as far as just like one-on-one, just picking people off in skirmishes and things, she doesn't have a lot for that. So you really want to team fight with her and try not to skirmish as much as possible. And then she has very limited mobility. She just has her E, and it's just a movement speed boost. It's not like a dash or anything. So she can get caught out and killed on ganks really easily, and she's super squishy. She's probably the squishiest champion in the game. So you have to position very carefully or you're going to get murdered. Now, she does heal herself when she heals other people, remember, with her W. And she does shield herself when she shields other people. So, you know, she is pretty resilient to poke to some extent. But all-in burst can be pretty tricky for her to navigate sometimes. Okay, so who's she good with? She's good with everybody. Like, literally everybody bottom lane. Like, you want to see some 80 carries over other, but she can work with anybody because she's so flexible. She can go very aggro early on with people like Jhin, like Draven. You can be very aggressive. Or you can be defensive and be a babysitter. You know, if you have Vayne in your lane, a Twitch, something that's bad early, you can just go aggressive, stack up a bunch of fairy charms, and just kind of wait it out if you have to. I think you should default to going aggressive, but you can go defensive if you want, and that means that she's good with anybody. Like, she can match whatever tempo you need to play at bottom lane. Because you're not on the clock either, because she outscales everybody. So it's not a big deal if you can't be super aggressive early, although it's nice if you can. She's good against all the other enchanters, and these are all the other best champions right now on this patch. I mean, as far as my tier list goes, like in my estimation, it's just littered with enchanters at the top. And so are a lot of tier lists right now, like Lulu, Janna, Soraka, Karma, Nami. All of these are very good champions. So she's good against the other really good champions. That makes her kind of queen of the hill. You know, the only popular champion, like I said, that can beat her potentially consistently is Blitz, if he's a very good Blitz and they play him correctly. But she can even beat Blitz. I beat Blitz plenty of times in my run too. I don't remember exactly how many times I beat him. I lost to Janna at least once or twice. I don't know why this is so bugged lately, but I did lose to Janna twice. I did lose to a Blitz there. But yeah, I beat him quite a bit. I beat Zyra a lot too. I mean, Zyra historically has been very good into Sona. But I beat Zyra just basically every time I played her. Just about. I beat a Blitz there. Beat Rakan. So yeah, there's just not a ton of great matchups against her. But the things that are good against her are Blitz, Leona to some extent, and the Assassins, Cassiopeia, or not Cassiopeia, Cassidon, LeBlanc, Katarina. All these are pretty good. But he's pretty much good with everybody. She's good with everybody. So recommended items, she's very, very flexible. So I highly recommend going Boots of Swiftness because you need to reposition. You're a very unsafe champion. You're very squishy, and you need to constantly move around in fights to give your aura to the maximum amount of people possible. So I highly recommend Boots of Swiftness. Some people may say mobility. I don't think so, because if someone tags you in a fight and you have mobility and you're only going to have that Boots 1 movement speed, you're dead. Like, you're not getting out of it. Or you need that Boots of Swiftness in a fight. Like, I really only like mobility if you're a hard engaged champion and it doesn't matter what your move speed is in combat. Like, mostly tanks. So someone like Blitzcrank, Thresh, Alistar, people that are just looking to hit that one skill shot to start a fight. So they need that mobility to get into position to do that, or to flank around. Like, good flankers can have it. I mean, like, Fiddlesticks is pretty good on Fiddle too, because you can just run up and fear people. But Sona's not like a run up and engage champion. Like, you can run up an ultimate if you want to, but that's not typically the best way you want to do it. You want to save and use it as a peeling tool once people are all lined up in a fight. And I'll show you. I've got some Sona footage here. I'll show you how that works. So Boots, I recommend Swiftness. You don't need Ionian because you're going to hit the CDR cap, typically anyways. I mean, you can go Ionian if you want, but remember, you're already getting a lot of free CDR anyways off of her ult, to an extent. And her stuff is already on such a low cooldown, like, I would much rather just be safe and try not to die, because it's really hard to not die as Sona, because she's very squishy. So Boots of Swiftness, Ardent Censor, Eye of the Watchers, Redemption, and then you can end with Locket or Mikhail. Typically, you can end games by this stage. You can close them out pretty quick as Sona, because you just shatter team fights. Okay, AP build. If you want to go AP Sona, the video I'm going to show you, I am going AP Sona. I know people have been asking about AP Sona. You can go Ardent Sensor, get a tier really early. You'd probably get a tier on your first back. Then you go towards Ardent Sensor, Watcher, Witchbane, and then if you have room at the end, Redemption after that. So you're just going to skip the Locket or Mikhail in this case. And that does give you some nice spike damage with Witchbane. The tier gives you virtually infinite mana. And Seraph's Embrace gives you a nice shield for protection and gives you just a crap ton of AP. It'll give you like 140 AP or so. And then Witchbane gives you a bunch of extra spike damage on your power chords. Because you can spam your abilities so quickly, then that does give you some extra, a little bit of extra burst damage. So Witchbane's cute. You can do a hybrid too, where you just go tier, Seraphs, Ardent, Watcher, Redemption. If you want to do it that way. And then finally, the 7.12 build, I believe, will be Ardent, Watcher, Athene, Redemption. With maybe the tier build in there. Maybe. The thing about tier is it's really good, but it's 700 gold for mana. Basically, for most of the game, it's just 700 gold for mana. Like, you might turn it into Seraphs at the very end of the game, but that mana is not... If you manage your mana properly, especially because every single one of these items has mana regen on it, if you manage your mana properly, and you're going to have to back a lot of the times anyways, because you're going to need more wards. So it's like every, 2 minutes or less, you're going to be backing to get more wards anyways. So, unless you're fighting fights that last longer than like 30 seconds to a minute or something like that, you're just running around constantly for like a minute spamming your abilities, you're not going to really run out of mana that much, especially if you get a Water Drake or anything like that. So the tier can be good. The video that I got, I do get the tier because we needed AP, and I'll explain why in the video. So it's okay, but I don't think you have to get it. It does reduce the cost of everything by 25% too. So if you think you're going to have long team fights, tiers can be pretty good. But I think most of the time it's just kind of overkill on the mana because you're going to have so much mana regen anyways. And I would rather spend the 700 just to go ahead and complete Ardent Sensor earlier or Redemption earlier or whatever. Okay, so that's the build there. I think runes, I like the armor, HP, AP, and then the Quints, 2 AP and 1 armor. You can do 1 more armor or 1 more AP on the Quints if you like. It'll make you a little bit squishier, but it does have better scaling later on. You can do flat armors on the yellows. If you're kind of broke and you don't want to pay 820 IP for yellows, you can just do armors there. That's fine. And you can do spell penetration or dual penetration reds if you want for a lot of extra auto attack damage in lane, but you fall off with that and you're super squishy with that. If they catch you out, you're dead. So I would only do that if you're just going to abuse the daylights out of the lane. So, if you're Caitlyn Sona against like Ezreal Janna, then you can go with that build. But, if they have a Caitlyn like Zyra and you are like Vayne Sona, don't do that build. I would just, by default, I would go with more armor. It just is safer and the stat just scales better later into the game than the flat penetration does, I think. And then always do wind speakers. You don't really want to do Thunderlords. Like, you can do extra pressure early if you want, but because you can always proc this wind speakers on everybody with the W in fights, that just is so good. Like, the plus healing and shielding is really nice, but also just giving out that, 2,000 golden stats that we talked about earlier is extremely powerful. So I highly, highly recommend doing wind speakers. And then I take Exhaust most of the time. Like, you can take Ignite if you really feel like you're going to kill somebody early. But I think in solo queue, Exhaust is just such a necessary buffer against fed assassins. If that Riven goes 6-0 in lane, even if you get a kill or 2 in lane with your Ignite, you're really going to wish you had Exhaust around 25 minutes against a 6-0 Riven. So, and I know in pro play they go Ignite a lot of the time, but it's because the games are shorter and people don't play as many assassins and they don't get as hyper fed out of control as they do in solo queue. That's almost a regular occurrence in a game. Someone on the enemy team is going to get like obscenely fed and you're going to have to like overcome that to win the game. So I just feel like Exhaust is just a lot better for that. I do think the ideal setup for summoners is AD carry takes barrier and support takes heal. And I explained that in my 7.7 video or whenever they changed Exhaust around, why that is. And it's because barrier scales very well early on. It doesn't get affected by Ignite, whereas heal gets affected by Ignite. And if the support has the heal, then all of their plus healing also benefits the heal itself. So it'll give out a bigger heal. If they have 20% from Wind Speakers plus Ardent Censer, it'll be a bigger heal. So I think that's the best way to go. Exhaust is also problematic because sometimes you just can't get in range to the thing you need to exhaust. So if Caitlyn's just like popping off, like in your Sona, you can't just run through the front line to go exhaust the Caitlyn on their back line. You know, you're just going to die trying, or you're going to have to flash forward and die to do it. So I think them having Barrier, you can use Barrier against range attacks a lot sooner, and Barrier has a much lower cooldown than Exhaust. So if you have an AD carry duo, if you're a support, or you're an AD carry watching this and you have a support duo, I highly recommend testing out Barrier on your AD carry and heal on your support. I think you'll be pleased with the results. Theoretically, that's the best choice right now. I don't know why pro teams haven't done it. I did the math on it back in the video when they changed, or back on the patch notes when they changed Exhaust. But anyways, they just don't like doing it. But I really think that's what you should be doing. But outside of that, I think if it's just Exhaust or Ignite, I think Exhaust is a lot better for solo queue. Okay, so how to lane. You want to be very aggressive. You want to tell your AD carry to be aggressive, because Sona's heal, as we explained before, sucks if it's just healing a single target, and the shield just gets wasted when you're not in a fight. So it's the best heal in the game. However, if you're in a fight, you use the shield that you get with the heal, and it heals 2 people. That makes it the best combat heal in the game. But it's terrible if, let's say, you just walk up, they take off 50% of your health, your AD carry just sits back and doesn't do anything, and you have to use a W to heal yourself. It's really, really inefficient to do that. I mean, especially early on. You know, you're paying 80 mana to heal yourself for 35. If it's just healing you single target, which is absolute garbage. So you do not want to do that. However, as I explained before, even if it's early, if you're healing 2 people for 70 plus 130, not including the ratios, or 70 plus 60 for a total of 130, that's actually a pretty good heal for 80. Even not including the ratio. So even at low levels of heal, it's efficient as long as you're healing 2 people, and especially if you do it in the middle of a fight so that you utilize that shield. Okay, so almost no one can match your early aggro unless it's an all-in champion like a Leona or a Blitz or something like that. Like if it's just a Nami or a Soraka or whatever, you're just going to be able to bulldoze them down if your AD carry gets aggressive with you. You could buy a lot of Fairy Charms early. And this is a very viable build. You know, first of all, Fairy Charms are ridiculously powerful. Like, do I still have them up here? I don't think I have them up. I can pull them up really quick. Fairy Charms used to be 180 gold, and now they're 120. They're a third cheaper. And this has been one of the silent enablers of the Enchanter meta here, is that this item right here is obscenely powerful on Enchanters. This gives you 4 extra mana per 5 on a Sona. That's more than an entire, like, yellow section of a rune page or a blue section of a rune page. Each one of those will give you like 3.4 extra mana per 5. So just one 125 gold investment gives you the same amount of power as 9 runes to an extent. And so, you know, it used to be until 5.22 it was 180, and then it dropped to 125, and now it's 25% of base instead of 3 per 5. And on Sona, that means 4, because her base is 11.5, so it's roughly 12. So that's just crazy that it's only 125, and you can sell it back for 88. So that means that you're only paying 37 gold. If you need to sell one later, it's not a huge deal. You're paying 37 gold to rent like unlimited mana in your laning phase, basically. Just buy up a lot of Fairy Charms. If it's your first back, just buy like 3 Fairy Charms and a control ward or something. Or, you know, if you have around 700 gold, you can get like 2 Fairy Charms, a control ward, and a Ruby Sightstone. But just stock up on these bad boys. I mean, you're going to need 5 of them for your build anyways. Eye of the Watchers is going to use 1. Your Ardent Censer is going to use 2, and your Redemption is going to use 2. So you're going to use 5 Fairy Charms. And that's why this is so, like, part of why Sona is so overpowered is because the build is so cheap. Like, you can just spam these things, which is like one of the best early game items. It's just obscenely powerful on a healer. because that translates into health, because mana equals health on Sona. You know, it can equal health. So you can just be very, very aggressive and just even like to the point where you're almost reckless taking bad trades, and you'll still end up okay if you just have a few fairy charms in your inventory. People just can't hang with that early. So yeah, fairy charms are overpowered, and just stack them up. Get a ruby sightstone, 3 fairy charms. It's awesome. Be careful for ganks, because, you know, Sona, you have virtually no escapes. You're probably going to die if you get ganked, unless the enemy's poked out. If you keep them low enough to where the enemy AD carry and their support are at like 25% health, depending on the jungler, you might just be able to turn around and kill them all, especially if you're pushing in. So I've turned plenty of fights around with like Twitch or something where we just 2v3'd them because we already had them really low with Sona, and she's so powerful in a team fight early on because you're hitting multiple people with your Q in a fight, and you're giving both you and your Twitch empowered basic attacks, and you're healing and shielding. It's really hard to fight Sona early on in a team fight unless you all in and blow her up. So very strong. Be careful for all in engages though. So poke's not a huge problem, but you know, don't get hit by thresh hooks, don't get blitz hooked, don't get hit by Leona E. Just try to go up, Q, auto, run. Make sure to use your Q before you auto. So the Q before the auto, remember, will empower your auto to do more damage. So you don't want to auto then Q. Q then auto, get that extra damage in there. Stack up, get that extra power cord hit in there. And then just run away. And that's how you do it. You just weave in and out every time it's off cooldown. Q, auto, Q, auto, Q, auto. Now be careful against something like a Caitlyn, because she can hit you back pretty hard. But against something that doesn't have a lot of range like a Lucian, bully him out all day. And in a team fight, just try to look for ults where you can hit multiple people. Try to see if you can hit 3 people in a team fight. It's typically better to hit 3 people than to hit 1 priority target. If you have to hit the 1 assassin that's about to kill your AD carry, fine. But try to line it up to where you can at least hit that assassin and maybe 1 other person. Just try to always hit multiple targets with your ult. And if you decide to go for a tier, make sure that you get it early. Okay, so I'm trying to remember. I thought I had the game pulled up, but I guess maybe I didn't. Let me see if it's this one. Hello, buddy. Welcome back to your part of the game. I don't think it was this one. This was a pretty good game. I think it was this one that I timed out. Caitlyn, yes. Okay, so I've got a couple of timestamps here, so you can just kind of see how this would work. I'll show you some different aspects of the game. I got some team fights lined up, and I have some just... We'll watch just a little bit of laning early, and then we'll watch some team fights. Okay, so this is what you want to do. Just watch for Braum. Go up, just always looking for these autos, backing up because the wave's coming up. Now, I messed up here and got coin. Don't do that. I was just talking to the stream, but it ended up being a good game. So I went ahead and just kept the footage. So always go for spell thieves first. Like, coin is garbage. Don't get that. I was just talking with the stream, and I just goofed up and accidentally got the coin and didn't notice until I left the base. I was in a conversation with people. So don't do that. But even though I started with like some really poor itemization, we can turn it around. So you see we're already poking them pretty low. You always want to step in and out of this bush. You see I start glowing because I got green fathers. And someone was asking me on stream, well, why are you getting green fathers instead of bandit? And the reason is you do a lot of extra damage. You always want to go fresh blood and green fathers, I think. Because that empowers your auto attacks quite a bit in the mastery tree. So I do 9 in the first tree, and then I put the rest in the second tree and just go down to wind speakers. And you get fresh blood, green fathers, and then battle trance for the extra damage in team fights. You can go the other way and get more like self-shielding and healing and extra flash, but I really like fresh blood a lot. Gives you a lot of extra damage on your autos. So we're keeping them pretty low. I mean, Braum's basically out of mana. We know the jungler's top, so we can get really aggressive here. We just hit him with the Q. Heal them up. So we're basically at full, and they're super low, so they might even have to back really early. And Caitlyn's a great partner. I mean, everyone's good with Sona, but Caitlyn in particular has been a classic good pick with Sona. Now, the extra coins are okay, but you really, really want that extra 5 AP, and... You know, something that's underrated on the Spell Thieves items is that it does extra damage on hit. So yeah, it gives you gold, but it also does damage. So it does 5 extra damage on a hit, which adds up. You know, if you land 10 auto attacks in a lane, that's 50 damage. So we'll watch a couple more minutes of this, maybe just like another 20 seconds actually, and then I'll skip over to some team fights and show some more stuff. Okay, so at 3 minutes we have something interesting. Okay, so we're about to something interesting here. Okay, so Braum went back and got a bye. We didn't really punish him that hard for that, so he's down in levels. He went ahead and got a bye. Let me close the door. That's probably really loud on stream. Sorry, we have a newborn in the house and the cat whenever she leaves the room. Okay, so we get caught there. That's bad. I'm going to have to flash because they get that third stun on me. I'm dead. I'm doing everything that I can. She should have just kept running. I don't know if she flashed or not, but I just don't have any mana. She flashed way too late. I just didn't have mana left. So a lot of that is because I have coin. Like, the blue does give you extra mana regen, but just having the mana regen off of the fairy charm, or off of the spell thieves, the 25% that it gives you, probably would have given me more than those coins. Not sure. But I'm just fully committing to this just because I've already bought it. Kind of talking on stream in a fairy charm. So the thing about this Oasis, it's kind of a crap item, but it does give you a ton of gold. So if you're building an AP build, it's not the worst in the world. I mean, yeah, Nami's good, but we'll see. I think Nami will be better next patch. I just think Sona's way better than Nami, honestly. Like, that's what squeezes her out. I'm not going to talk about Nami too much. Just watch my tier list video if you want to know. I do think that Nami's good. I think she'll be better next patch. She'll be a good Athene's user, but I mean, everyone always has their favorite, right? They're always like, oh, you're underestimating this, you're underestimating Tarek, you're underestimating Nami, you're underestimating whatever. It's got to have a rank somewhere. Like, not everyone can be number one, right? On a tier list, somebody has to be lower. So it's not that I don't like certain champions, it's just that I think certain champions are better than others relative to others on any given patch. Okay, let's go ahead. So let's look at 5. Okay, we're just about at 5 again. When something else happens, then we'll start skipping around a bit more. So a ward there. Braum roamed middle, and he's coming back bottom. I think I saw that. Okay, yeah, we need to get out of here. I just saw somebody walk up there. I'm running. Okay, so I juke the ult, but Caitlyn doesn't. She dies. I walk out. Alright, so let's go to 630 here. Let me back up a little bit. Okay, so we're trying to stall out the Infernal here and just kind of watch our position. Okay, so Amumu gets spiked out. Amumu doesn't have a great game. Surprise. Don't play Amumu in Platinum. I start backing up because I think we're not supposed to be running through here, and then everyone else kind of agrees after a little bit. Okay. Clear this ward, so we were able to get some heals in there, do a little bit of damage. Okay, so let's go ahead and skip ahead a little bit to about 11:15 or so. Okay, so this is Goofy. Alright, so Yasuo, they dive Yasuo. It's 5-9, if you haven't noticed. It was even worse than that. I think it was 2-6 earlier. So, like, get this. We see Braum right here. We see all of them here. We know there's like 4 people in this area, and what happens? Amumu, in plain sight of Braum, uses his Q to try to farm his Gromp. When we're down a person, and we know, like, for a fact, there are at least 2 other people in the jungle right here. And he uses his Q to engage on this Gromp, on someone who has really hard CC, and he tries to fight him. He turns around and says, yeah, I'll fight him, sure. Yeah, try to ult to save him. Try to heal him through it. Spiked up by Xerath, and now it's 1v4, and I get blown up too. Okay, so the main reason I'm showing you this is I had a terrible start. We've been getting, like, camped. They've been diving us. This Amumu is just like, I don't know how much he paid for his account or whatever. Maybe he just doesn't play a Moo. I don't know. But anyways, we're having a bad game. That's the point. Is the team is having a really bad game. It's 5-12. They're just running all over us. They got that Infernal, I believe, earlier. I don't remember. I accidentally bought the wrong item. So it's a bad game. But we can still come back because we're Sona. Okay, so let's skip ahead to 1645. Okay, let me pull back just a little bit here. This is actually a pretty good fight. Okay, so we're doing our thing. Kind of laying in here. It's still 14-6, looking rough. Okay, everybody's chasing a Moo, about to go kill him. I'm saying back up, back up, back up. We need to go help a Moo. We don't have a tower anymore. They're going to flank us. Who turns around and tries to fight him? It's like, bro, get out. Like, we're about to get collapsed on. Okay. So I'm just like, okay, let's get out of here. Moo's dead again. What's new? Okay, trying to run. Yasuo goes in. He's like, yo, bro, I'm going to 1v4 this. Okay, he starts grabbing some people. Caitlyn gets a couple of kills in there. It's good. Ult the problem. I thought Lucian was going to, dude was going to dash around the corner. I have to flash in. Try to save him. Get a heal off. Okay, so that's a good trade. So that was a good exchange for us. You might think I flashed into KS that, but you think what you want. I had to do that, or Yasuo was going to die. Okay, so we're just going to work this tower for a little bit. We're kind of coming back. Let's go to 1900. We got something interesting going on here. Everyone's dying. We're still down a lot. It's 19-10. What's the board state? We have one tower. They've taken all 3 outers, and they're working the inners, and they have at least 2 dragons by this point, and we're down 10 kills. Riven's doing pretty well. He goes in, he goes hard. Get a nice ultimate there, stun them both. So Riven's going off. Going to top lane. What was the score there? Let me see. We've got an 0-6 Yasuo. We've got a 2-7 Amumu. But Riven's doing very well. Riven's 6-1. They have a very fed Warwick, Xerath, and Lucian. I'm just about to complete Ardent Censer, though. Ardent Censer is very good on Riven and Yasuo, and Caitlyn, of course. Alright. Alright, 22:30. I think we have some more interesting stuff. So you notice I'm just kind of hanging out, just trying to do some auras in the back. We're going to get some more organized team fights in a little bit. Just trying to stay with it, not flaming the team too much. Even though, like I said, I'm a little disappointed with some of what's going on in this game. Telling people to try to stay positive. We can win, and we can. Even though we're down a lot. You know, because Sona's that powerful late game, and Riven's going. You just need like one other person a lot of times. It's kind of going. And if everyone else is kind of like okay, sort of, kind of, then you can pull through. Okay, so they ended up getting mid tower. Okay, healed Caitlyn there. She would have died 100% if I didn't heal her. Mumu decides that's a great time to go in when our Caitlyn's at 10% health. So he engages onto him. Alright, I stun 2 people. Heal up a Mumu so he doesn't die. Hang out near the back. Healing ults a bunch of people. Just autoing, you notice I'm always like repositioning near the back, but I'm trying to like keep to where I heal. I can get my shield on multiple people, but I'm trying to hang out pretty close to the back. Okay. Extra damage on people, healing people. Speed people up so we can run away. I've kept this Amumu up for so long. He finally goes down. Had to flash that. He wants to chase me. Not going to catch me. I'm too fast. A little bit of damage there. Heal up Kate. Riven. Getting a little too hardcore. Put some more damage on Lucian. Heal up. Galio. Keep autoing. Look how much this heal is for when I heal here in a second. Like, that's a good chunk of healing on everybody. I'm at full health because I keep healing other people, but it heals me too on the W. Okay. Still going. The fight that never ends. This is a good situation to have tier. Like, we've been fighting for like 4 minutes straight or something. Okay. The Grand Fiesta. Okay, let's look at. Here's the cat again. Get 2,700. It's like non-stop yelling in the other room. Close the door. Okay. So, get into another crazy fight. Okay, I stun him. I kill the one person. Kill the Braum. Stall the Lucian. Still fighting. Bam! Pretty good damage for a Sona. Auto attack him. Spamming auras. Keeping everybody healed up. Now I'm waiting until we get here, and then I'm going to press the E so that everyone gets the extra attack speed and bonuses from Ardent Sensor. Little damage. I've got my Sheen here. A little extra Sheen proc. I'm not sure the Sheen's entirely necessary. Like, I think maybe going Redemption would have been better. Maybe going Seraphs, then Redemption. I don't know. Like, the reason that I'm going AP is because we have all AD. Like, we've got Riven, plus Yasuo, plus Caitlyn, and Amumu just has no AP items. So, you know, my team specifically told me we needed to go AP. So I was like, okay. Now, I missed that. I don't think I hit anyone with that ult. So that was my one bad ult to the game there. I think I may have clipped that Warwick. I don't remember. That wasn't great. We kind of get a little too crazy here. We could very easily just take this top inhibitor, but we just start chasing kills. So I'm doing the best that I can to try to keep people up. Yeah, I think that's about it. Let me see. There's okay, one other good fight coming in here. So you're noticing in all these fights, I mean, there's not a lot technically to Sona, like, because she doesn't have a lot of skill shots, and that's what makes her perfect, I think, for climbing in bronze and silver, particularly. I know a lot of viewers are in bronze and silver. A lot of it's just positioning because she's very squishy, so you just want to make sure you're not getting caught and you're not getting baited. So I'm trying to heal Amumu up here, but I need to be careful I don't get baited myself. That's why these boots of swiftness are so important. So you can actually go in and try to save allies and run out with your E if you have to. Because you don't have any other ways to get close. Now your heal is really long range. It's like 1,000 range. Whereas like Soraka's heal is like 400. So you don't quite get as baited if you just try to slap somebody a little heal to save them as you would with Soraka, but So what do we got? 32.55. Okay, so it's about to go down. We're about to get one last like good team fight here. We're just kind of roaming around, waiting on the lanes to push up. Ribbon is too far without any pressure in other lanes. That's my duo, by the way, my homie there. But yeah, they're all coming at him. I don't have wards there, and I can't go get wards because it's just too dark. Okay, so we're running down here. There's a fight. We're not going to be able to avoid it. I don't have redemption, or I throw a redemption on him. Coming in hot. Ult. 2 people there. Heal him. Hang out in the back. I use my Seraphs here in a second as I run forward into kind of dangerous situations. There's my Seraphs. Just healing people. And watch how much damage I do to this Lucian here in a second with a power cord. Q power cord. Did like half his health. It still is not enough to kill him, but they're just hanging out in the back, spamming auras, just trying not to get caught. It's a really simple playstyle, and you can win a lot with Sona. That frees you up to improve your macro game, so to watch out for ganks, to position better, because you don't have to really hit any skill shots other than your ultimate. So it's perfect. I mean, she's a pretty low skill cap champion, which is great. I mean, I like it. It helps you focus up on other aspects of the game. And I think it's very user friendly for especially for bronze and silver people that are really working on macro. Even for me, I mean, I don't mind playing fairly low skill cap champs. It's fine with me. I just like winning. I'm not all about trying to show off and get all this personal glory. Like, it's cool to play difficult skill shot champs, but if you just win the game, if I can focus more on the macro and just my positioning, totally fine with playing lower skill cap champs. So that's Sona for you. I mean, really powerful, doesn't take a lot of skill shots, doesn't pretty one of the easiest supports you can play in the game. You just have to be very careful not to get caught and just to position carefully, but she's just extremely strong. Okay, so in the team fights, all you want to do is just hit the closest target that you can, peel for your 80 carry as much as you can, try to get a multi-target ult, spam your auras, try to reposition to heal or just get those buffs on your allies as much as you can, and try to hit people with your green power cord as much as you can. That is something that takes a little bit of practice, is paying attention to your power cords and making sure that you get the right one when you need it without using too many extra cords. So anyways, that's it for Sona. So thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. She's super powerful right now. How long did this video end up lasting? Longer than I wish, but she's very powerful, and I wanted to go into a lot of stuff about her, especially the 7.12 speculation. So be sure to give her a whirl before she gets permabanned in 7.12. I think she's free low right now. Very, very simple to play. Very powerful. If you want to know about more of my champions, you can check out the champion guide here. We've got Zyra, Lulu, Nami, Karma, Bard, Vel'Koz. They have a whole bunch of different champions. Tarek. So be sure to check that out. I'm adding other champions all the time. If you'd like to commission a champion that's not already on deck, or you can, if you want to throw a little bit of extra money for a champion that is on deck, then you can. So I still have a Leona guide coming up next. And then I have a Nunu, Scion, Maokai, and Thresh guides coming up. So if you want to chip in to help, commission one of those, you can. Otherwise, I'll just get to them as fast as I can. If you have another support that you'd like to see, just let me know. Or if you have any kind of topical guides you'd like for me to see. If you want me to do like a new itemization guide for the 7.12 items, where I just break down everything and explain it all mathematically and give you new builds for all the popular supports, I can do that for you. If you want to know, like, how can you win in bronze, like what are some specific like low elo tips, I can do a guide on that. I could do a guide on I don't know, anything you can think of I can do a guide on. So it's just $20 for any kind of guide, whether it's a champion or anything else that's topical. If you want to do like a duo normal game with me and have you give me some commentary, if you want to be on stream and just kind of have some fun, it's $20 to do one of those. For $20, I'll also play a champion of your choice on stream. So, if you want to see me play a Jinx support or an Urgot support, or just a support that Trundle support, or Thresh support, I mean, just something that you really enjoy that maybe I don't do that much of, go for that. If you just want me to look at your op.gg and just give you some basic advice, which is like about a one-page Google Doc, I can do that for $5 for you. I can do a coaching sessions, one-on-one. If you want to see what those look like, I do have a linked playlist here. This is the best way, I think, to improve if you have a little bit of extra money and you want to help support the channel. It's about an hour-long YouTube video. I give you an in-depth Google Doc that sort of describes different ways I think you can improve. I'll look at your op.gg. You send me a replay. I look at the replay, give you a very in-depth analysis as I'm watching the replay, take some notes, and then I give you sort of a like top 5 things that I think you can improve on. And for those of you new to the channel, I am an educator. I do teach persuasive writing to college students, and so I do have a good background in pedagogy. So I think that my approach to coaching is a bit more professional than a lot of other coaching videos out there. You know, I may not be Challenger or Diamond, but I think I've got a pretty good handle on the game, and I think I have a good way of articulating and explaining that to people and helping to motivate people to become better players. So I think that, you know, my combination and attention to my rhetoric, the way that I talk to people, the way that I try to help people become better players really makes me somewhat unique on YouTube to an extent. So I think that it's definitely worth your while to get one of those coaching videos if you want to support the channel. I do also offer some services for writing because I am an English professor. So if you want some tutoring or you want like some help editing a big paper that you have, or you have a resume you're about to send out, it has a cover letter, you want me to help you with that, I can do that as well for a fee. I'm not sure exactly what that would be. My general like thought process when I come up with these prices is it depends, but usually it's about $20 for like roughly an hour worth of work. Like the coaching sessions take an hour, the guides take way more than an hour, so I'll probably have to increase the price on those later on. And then the duo or play champion of your choice on stream doesn't technically take an hour, but it does take away from sort of the solo queue climb in a sense, and it's kind of like special recognition on stream and stuff like that. So I'll come up with a fair value for the tutoring and editing if you're interested in that. I don't know, like $3 a page or something like that. It depends on what it is, but just email me if you're interested in that. And then I'm also going to have a sort of a membership thing, kind of like Twitch sub type of thing that I'm coming up with soon, where I'll let people, you know, for a $5 monthly donation, I'll let people come up with like vote on which champions they want to see me play. We'll have like members games at least one night a week. I'll set up a private Discord where members can just hang out and talk with other members. And just a couple of other perks in there is to make it kind of a fun way to support the channel and just hang out with other members and just continue to build that great community that we have. And we'll still have the normal chat and you know, all of the normal stuff. So it's not like you're going to be left out in the dark if you're not a member. But just for people that want that extra touch, that are always wanting me to play these certain champions, maybe they don't have $20 laying around, then I'll have that sort of vote system where I can collectively play things that people want to see me play, because I don't have time to play everybody's favorite champs every time. But for the people that are willing to help support the channel at least a little bit to be able to vote on it, I think would be really cool. So anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Have a great evening.